It's Wednesday, July 3rd, Thursday, the 4th of July, if you're on the East Coast, across the pond, or down under. And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night heading into the American holiday. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you live from your lovely neighbors in the Great White North, on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where you can read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, listen to the show live. The Gavinator has more coming very soon. Tonight's show is brought to you by Mighty Moose Beard Oil Company. It's 100% Canadian, 100% natural, taking care of beards around the world. Visit MightyMooseBeard.com. Use promo code SOR2019 today. What's it like to have contact from the stars? It takes a strong voice to come publicly and discuss this very serious matter, especially for those who cannot find the voice for themselves. This is where Suzanne Chancellor steps in. She is a longtime abductee and experiencer. Taking her story to the airwaves, she began hosting her own podcast called Random Alien Brain Droppings. Fantastic name. Fantastic. Also with the title of her blog as well, where Suzanne interviews others, experiencers, authors, and researchers on the subject of UFOs, abductions, and all other high strangeness that seems to surround the phenomena. Yeah, we're getting in deep into the woo tonight. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Suzanne Chancellor, first time on this show. What a lovely opportunity to chat with you. Thank you for coming on the air.
Thank you so much, Dave, for having me.
It's going to be a lot of fun tonight. You know, I always like to start things off real easy because I like to introduce our audience to get to know you a little bit better. How long have you been a contactee abductee?
Since I was 4 years old, which would be in the early 60s.
So tell us when you first started finding out that there were these weird and strange people who were coming around.
Well, I didn't really remember my first experience until I was much older. At the time when I had my first experience at 4, I really believed that they were just little friends that came to me in the night. I mean, I didn't know what aliens were. I was just a little kid. And I didn't think it was anything abnormal. I thought, you know, possibly these things happen to everyone. So I really didn't question it. But when I was in my 20s, in 1987, when the book Communion by Whitley Strieber came out, as I'm sure a lot of contactees will tell you, when I saw the cover of that book, I had to buy it right away. It shocked me. I mean, I had my daughter in my hands at the time, and I almost dropped her when I saw the cover. It just freaked me out. But I picked it up and I read the inside book cover, and I bought it and I read it in one day. And when I did, it was the catalyst for all my memories to come back to me. And I realized, based on the things that he was sharing, that those things that happened to me when I was a child were not dreams, and they were not little friends coming to me in the night, that they were actually aliens, as we would call them now.
You know, that's the only book I've never finished. And I got to tell you, what happened there was I got the book. I remember I got it at Costco. And I'd never I'd seen Fire in the Sky and Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but I had never, ever read an alien book. And this was about 1999, and my daughter was about 4 or 5 months old at that time. And I remember snuggling her as I was reading the book, and it got to that point in the book where Whitley is sitting on the craft, and he looks, I believe, to his left. Or his right, doesn't really matter, to the side of him. And his son is right there with him. And that part scared me so much as being a brand new father that I closed that book and I've never opened it since. It's not even in my studio here. It's packed away with a bunch of other books that I have that I've never got out. But geez, I know exactly what you mean when it comes to communion.
Right. Well, I can totally relate to that. And as a mother myself, when I did read the book, it was a little frightening because I knew that since these things had happened to me, I didn't have any control over it. And I knew that I didn't have any control over it happening to anyone in my family as well. So it was a little bit frightening for myself.
So at what point did you start realizing that this was really happening to you on a frequent basis? And did you investigate whether or not it was happening to other people that were close to you?
I didn't tell anyone. I did not tell anybody about my experiences until that time. Well, actually, it was a few years later when I became engaged to my ex-husband in 1989. I was really leery about, I had done a little bit of research and started reading about other people's experiences and started really realizing that these things were really happening, and it scared me. I mean, I had a thriving business, and, you know, I was afraid of losing my children if I had talked about it. I was afraid of losing my clients. So I kept it to myself. But when we became engaged, I really believed that I had to be completely honest with him and tell him that these things have been happening to me my entire life. And that I said, if you can't handle it, then don't marry me, because I cannot promise that these things will not stop happening, and I can't promise that they won't happen to you. And at that time, he said that he was okay with it. But years later, come to realize that that was not the case. But so at the time, that was 1989. That was the first time I'd ever told anybody. Things started ramping up when we got together, and when we got married, things started involving my family and our friends. And so it was just out of control.
So here you have this gentleman who you are in love with.
Right.
And you have this extremely difficult conversation. I'm curious, and please, if I'm protruding a little bit too far, please let me know. How do you have a conversation like that? Because, you know, the first implication may be that he thinks you're crazy or that he doesn't really know you. Do you mind getting into that?
Not at all. I mean, I think that, you know, I had been married once before, and I just thought, you know, I need to be completely transparent. I mean, I had a lot of things about myself that I just really needed to be open and honest about, and I didn't want it to be a surprise later on and cause a divorce, per se. And so I thought that if I was upfront about it in the beginning, then he would make that decision at that point whether or not to pursue the relationship. And
right.
So I just really decided that I was going to have to take a chance. And I was in love with him, and that was one of the reasons why I just had to be completely honest. I wanted our relationship to be based on honesty.
I can see that. I can absolutely see that. That would be a very difficult conversation to have. Now, when you two got together, was he an experiencer? Did he know much about ET contactees? No,
nothing. In fact, he was quite the opposite personality type as myself. And he was more analytical, and I'm more like a left brain. He was more of a right brain person. No, I'm sorry, I take that back. I'm more of a right brain. He's a left brain. So it's just really, you know, maybe you say opposites attract per se. He didn't really want to know in a sense. In fact, when I did tell him about it, he never asked me once any details about any of my experiences. I think he was more in denial and thought, you know what, out of sight, out of mind. So he was just like, oh, okay, that's nice, you know, carry on. Not to laugh about it, but that's pretty much how it was.
Did he get taken?
No, but he was around when things happened after we got married. So, but he doesn't remember. This is what happened. We had a few experiences and where he would sleep really poorly. And I knew that we had a visitation, or I had a visitation during the night. And in the morning, he would say to me, "Did the visitors come last night? Because I slept like crap." And I would say, yeah, I think so. And sometimes I wouldn't really remember completely what had happened, but I knew that there was a partial memory of something that had happened. But he never once asked me what happened. He just turned around and walked away. So, but I don't really have any vivid memory. He never ever said anything to me that he had an experience that he can remember. But there were a couple of experiences that he definitely was part of and was woken up from a deep sleep right after something had happened that involved my daughter a couple years later.
Right. So when you started getting this contact and it was coming through very frequently for you, who was visiting you?
Oh, the Greys and a couple other. I had one experience one evening where there were no Greys, which is interesting. And I saw 3 beings I had never seen before. One was a mantis being. One was a gold disc that had manifested itself into a woman. And then 3 little blue Smurf type, like cobalt blue little Smurf beings with like dark coal black eyes.
Oh, wow. So the Greys, were they mainly the ones that were taking you? And what kind of Greys were they? Were they tall? Were they short? Do you recall, or was it a mixture?
I've seen mostly throughout my early years, it was the smaller Greys. They're about no taller than 4 feet tall, maybe a little bit shorter. The typical, big bulbous head and the skinny bodies with the long, spindly arms. And then I also remember seeing a very, very tall Gray that was probably about 7 feet tall with a much larger head, kind of a bulbous head. And I referred to him as the Emperor. He seemed to be someone that I had been in contact, I think, many times during my childhood. And he seemed very familiar to me and very loving. The other Greys seemed to be more like they were there just performing tasks, and they were unemotional. They just were almost performing a job, and they almost seemed not completely biological entities. They seemed more mechanical, if that makes any sense.
It totally does make sense. And I think for a lot of people, when they look at the Greys, we get that image of our head, of the guitar pick shaped head with the big black eyes, and that's it. But I mean, a lot of people who've never experienced it can honestly say that that's their image. They don't understand that there's talls, there's shorts, there's the mini guys, there's the guys who look half alien, half like E.T. from the movie. I mean, there's so many different species that are out there. I know for myself, I'm an experiencer as well. I've been taken 4 or 5 times. 4 I'm sure of. The 5th I'm not. So that's why I sound pretty unknown about the number. But in the meantime, those memories that are very vivid on how you are being treated and how you are being held. Are you being held captive? Are you in some sort of trance? Did they ever allow you to recall any of your contact?
Yeah, they did actually. I have a few memories, but not, some of them are partial memories. I mean, I don't remember any visitation, or I hate using the word abduction, but I don't recall anything from the absolute beginning to the absolute end. I will sometimes remember the middle into the end, or maybe the beginning and the end and not the middle. So it seems like there's a lot of partial memories happening there. So for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just traumatic or they just block it out of your mind or erase your mind, or maybe you only remember what you're supposed to. I don't really have any memories of anything traumatic happening to me, and I think that I don't know if it's a defense mechanism or that it was on purpose for me not to remember. But my earliest memory from when I was 4, if you want me to backtrack to that,
sure.
When I read communion and I had these flashbacks of different situations that had happened as a child, and the first one that I recalled that I thought was a dream was I remember in the middle of the night being carried back to my bed by what seemed to be like 4 to 6 small little whatever they were at the time, thinking they were just little friends, carrying me back to my bed on my back. And I could see the ceiling of my hallway above me, and then my door jamb, and then the ceiling in my bedroom. And I remember them putting me back into my bed and pulling the covers up to my neck. And then I just fell asleep like it was nothing. And in the morning when I woke up, I had this strong urge to ask my mother for a Band-Aid for my belly button. And she just looked at me like I was crazy. And she says, "What do you mean you need a Band-Aid?" And I said, "Mommy, I need a Band-Aid for my belly button." And she says, "Oh, honey, you must have been dreaming." And I said, "No, Mommy, please, I didn't have a dream." And she says, "Well, why do you need a Band-Aid?" And I said, "Because they told me that if I didn't put a Band-Aid on my belly button, it would get infected." And so she just like rolled her eyes, went into the bathroom, got the Band-Aid, put it on my belly button, and walked away. And that was that. And she never asked me about it again. And I just went about my business, and it was like it never happened. But that's the only. At the time, I felt like I did what I was supposed to do, and I didn't really give it a second thought. I was 4. But in retrospect, after reading and hearing about other people's experiences, it leads me to believe that something might have been done to me, that maybe something had been taken from me. And, you know, obviously you would think in that area it could have been some sort of retrieval of some matter, maybe, I don't know, biological matter for me, or eggs or what have you. I mean, I was 4. So I don't know. And I don't have I've never had a regression. So I have chosen not to, because I really feel that the things that I've recalled are what I'm supposed to know. I really don't have any use for knowing anything traumatic at this point in my life. It wouldn't serve me. It would only cause more stress and trauma and ask a lot more questions.
So do you think that not wanting to go under hypnosis to find out what happens, do you think that that is your own body telling you you don't want to know what's been done?
Well, I mean, in reality, why would we want to know? I mean, what purpose would it serve us? You know, when you think about it, I mean, would you want to know?
Yes.
You would? Why?
Probably because I'm curious. I'm curious.
Okay. And then after that,
my first experience, I woke up on the table while they were cutting my head open to implant me.
Okay, so why do you need to know more than that? This is my question.
Because I am a sick dude who wants to know what's going on. No, you know what? I'll be honest with you. If we're talking about me here, so we got about 3.5 minutes before we go to break. Suzanne Chancellor is our guest tonight. For me, I want, I hear all of these experiences and I want to know what's happening. I want to know what it's like on the ship. I want to know what it's like to see the earth from above. I want to know all of this stuff. This is what drives me. This is what makes me go. Because when I had my close encounter of the third kind, I never walked up to the ship. I wish I did. If I knew now, or if I knew then what I know now, I would have got a hell of a lot closer. Then 5 days after that, when I saw my first extraterrestrial in the middle of the day in the middle of a forest, I would have walked up to it and said hello. I wouldn't have been as afraid as I was. So I have a burning number of questions in my head, excuse me, that I want to get to. So that's why I would like to know.
Well, I guess it's personal, and I can understand your reasoning behind that. And I think that in your situation, in retrospect, I would feel the same way. But at the time, it's just so daunting and frightening. The fear involved in that experience would not allow you to progress in that situation. And that's totally warranted. But you know, as far as like having a regression and going through that experience of having that needle in my belly button would be something that would cause me a lot of anxiety in my, present everyday life. So I would opt myself not to venture down that road.
How about your children? Did it follow the patterns with your children?
Yes, actually, I had an experience that involved my then 3-year-old daughter. It's quite involved, so we might have to wait until after the break to get into that. We can pause on that one if you want. Okay, let's do that. For sure.
Yeah. So with these experiences that you're having, and you choosing not to go down the path of getting any sort of regression to figure out what's been done, how many times do you think then over, and I'm not going to ask your age, but over the last number of years that you have been taken?
That I can recall, and I don't even say taken because it wasn't always being taken. So I don't really recall any experience of being taken away somewhere and having an absolute recollection of that more than one time. But I have had many visitations, and one visitation where I actually went missing, which happened a couple of years ago when I was living here in Rhode Island. I don't know where I went, but I was gone from the house when my boyfriend was sleeping, and he woke up and I was gone. So other than that, just one time. But then as far as visitations, probably I would say, oh gosh, I don't know, that I can remember, maybe 25 or so, I would say.
For some, that would say 25 times too much. Suzanne, I'm going to get you to hold on here. We're going to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Suzanne Chancellor is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're talking ET abduction all night long. If you want to check out her website, it's abducteeawareness.blogspot.com. Her podcast is randomalienbraindroppings.podbean.com. Suggest you check them both out, because this is a very talented lady here when it comes to this subject, and that's why we brought her on to speak to all of you. We're going to find out her experience with her child and extraterrestrials coming up right after the break on Spaced Out Radio. Hey, Spaced Out Radio listeners, it's Dave Scott. I want you to check out a great documentary I'm involved in called Beyond the Spectrum, Mosson's UFO Files. Directed by Darcy Weir, the film follows Jaime Mosson's journey for mainstream journalistic truth in ufology in Mexico. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon Prime. If you're a member, watch it free. It's worth the watch. Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacy, head of the Research Association, TESA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio, you can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Coming up this September 21st and 22nd, all UFO eyes will be focused on Toronto for the 4th Annual Alien Cosmic Expo. Come listen to some of the biggest names and experiencers in ufology. Travis Walton, Paul Hellyer, Richard Dolan, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Randy Kramer, and Spaced Out Radio's own Dave Scott. Tickets are on sale now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Hopefully a night of ET talk. We'll get some Carl action at the window. I don't think so, though. I think he's a couple million miles away out in the stars, probably chasing a Tesla or something like that. Hey, reminder to all of you, if you have missed portions of this show or others, you can always check them out for free on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where you can read up on the SOR Newswire. You can also listen to the show live. By the way, hi, Gene in D.C. How you doing? Give us a call sometime. And also, we got new features coming very, very soon as the Gavinator. We'll have it up and running very, very shortly. Tonight we are talking ET abduction and contact. Suzanne Chancellor is our guest tonight. She's a lifelong experiencer. She is also someone who runs her own podcast called randomalienbraindroppings.podbean.com. Her website, abducteeawareness.blogspot.com. Suzanne, thank you so much for joining us. And right before the break, we were talking to you about an experience you had with your daughter.
Yes. So when I was engaged to be married in 1989, I lived about 40 miles north of Los Angeles, and my daughter was 3 at the time. And one night, my fiance and I were laying in bed, and I couldn't fall asleep. I was just laying there, just twiddling my thumbs, and he was already asleep. And I was looking up at the ceiling, and I saw these shapes like squares and circles and triangles all swirling around on the ceiling. And it was like they were like prisms. And say, like, for example, if there was like a crystal or something hanging in the window, and the light refracts through it, and it shines on the wall or something, and you see like the prismatic colors, like a rainbow. And so I went to look at the window to see if maybe car headlights were coming down the street or something. And when I went to look at the window, a gold disc shot in through the window across my body. It was about 4 inches in diameter, and it just landed. I would say landed. It manifested into a woman who was standing next to me on the side of the bed. And when I went to look at her, I realized that I couldn't move. My body was paralyzed, and the only thing that I could move were my eyeballs. But when I looked at her in my peripheral vision, I could see that it was a woman with long blonde hair. And she appeared to be nude. I didn't see any clothing on her. But she started to speak to me telepathically. And what she said to me was, "Marriage is the most sacred part of our existence, and I am giving you the chance to experience this if you wish." Now, at that point, I'm not really thinking about what she's saying. I'm just totally freaked out about the situation. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you don't look like what you normally look like. I realized that whatever this thing that shot in the room was probably an ET appearing as a woman as not to alarm me. And she heard my thoughts and spoke back to me telepathically. And she said, "Well, if you want to know what I look like, then look at the window." And at that moment, I was afraid to look, but my curiosity got the better of me. But even though I couldn't turn my neck, I could look in my peripheral vision. And when I looked at my window, I could see a praying mantis being hanging from my windowsill, and it was giant. And I wanted to scream. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't scream. My fiance was still sleeping, and at that moment, the doorknob on my bedroom window started to jiggle, and when she saw that, she bolted across the room and disappeared through the wall. And my door flew open, and in walked in these 3 little Smurf-type beings. And I'm thinking, what in the heck is going on? I mean, it's like a 3-ring circus in here, and I'm like, what is happening? And they're standing at the foot of my bed. They're about 3 feet tall. They are like a cobalt blue. They almost were like luminescent, and they had round coal black eyes. They kind of look like little Smurfy Michelin men. And one of them started speaking to me telepathically again, and he's saying, "It's Elise, who was my daughter." And they said, "We can't get her to stop throwing up." And the minute I heard that, I had this fight or flight sense in me take over, and I all of a sudden could move, and I bolted down my hallway, and I could hear her crying in her bedroom. The minute I got in her bedroom, she sat up in her bed, and she says, "Mommy, and she started vomiting all over the bed. Now she's violently getting sick, and at that point, my fiance wakes up. He hears a commotion. And she's throwing up, and I said, "Turn the bathtub on." And so he turned on the bathtub, and I brought her in the bathroom, and she continued to get sick in the toilet. And then I put her in the bathtub and cleaned her up, and then we changed her bedding. And I laid back in bed with her until she fell asleep. And when she finally fell asleep, I went back to bed. And in the morning, we woke up, and she was fine. And we went downstairs, and she's sitting at the kitchen table, and I'm making breakfast, and my fiance looks at me, and he says, kind of under his breath, he says, "Did the visitors come last night?" And I just put my finger to my lips, and I just said, "Shh, don't say anything," because I knew that something had happened. He didn't have any recollection whatsoever what had happened. And I didn't want to alarm my daughter because obviously there was something going on. So I poured her some juice, and I poured her a bowl of cereal, and I brought her over to the table. And when I went to the table, I noticed that she was drawing a little picture. And when I looked at the picture, I was kind of taken aback by what she was drawing. She drew this, it was like a round head with these round black eyes, and it had 2 lines where the ears would be, and it had a little neck and a little mouth, and then it had this squiggly line over its head. And I said to her, "Oh, honey, that's really cute. What is that?" And she says, "Well, it's the animal from my dream last night." And I said, "Oh, well, that's really cute, but it doesn't really look like an animal." And inside, I'm thinking, I'm a little bit freaked out because I'm thinking that something might have happened and she's drawing something that she remembers. But I didn't want her to be scared. And so I just kept smiling, and I didn't want her to think that I was nervous, you know. So I just prompted her with a smile on my face, and I said, "Oh, well, that's really cute, but it doesn't really look like an animal." And she says, "Well, they're not really animals, but they're not really people either." And so when she said they, I said, "Well, were there more than one? And what did they look like?" And she says, "Well, there were 3 of them, and they were blue." And then I knew that something had happened. And again, with a smile on my face, I just said, "Oh, well, that's really cute, honey. So what were they doing?" And she said, "Well, they were smelling me, and they were telling me that they loved me." Now, I don't know if you've had an experience with other people speaking about childhood visitations, where a lot of times they will recall the beings saying things to them as to not alarm them, like that they love them, or that, everything's okay, and, just to make them feel comfortable with what was going on, especially when there's trauma involved. So knowing that, I became extremely upset, but did not want to appear upset at all, and wanted to get as much information as possible from her. So I just continued to prompt her, and with a smile on my face, I just said, "Oh, honey, well, that's really nice. And so what is that little squiggly thing over its head?" And she said, "Oh, it's a cloud, Mommy. They come from the clouds."
And how old is your daughter at this time again?
Well, she will be 33 this year. She was 3 at the time.
Oh, okay. Goodness me.
So I was devastated because I realized that it had happened. Something had happened. I mean, I had no control over it. And it's like, the experience has traveled on to your family and you have absolutely no control. Who are you going to tell? It's like your child is kidnapped. Who do you report it to? I mean, I was so freaked out to think that this is going to be her life now. And I never had another experience that I can recall with her. And many years later, I never talked about it around my children. I never even had any books out or anything. I have 2 daughters now, but at the time, I didn't want to influence them at all. I was freaked out enough about it for myself, much less to influence them, that these things might be possibility in their lives. You know what I'm saying? So I never, communion and all that was under lock and key. And so many years later, when I did finally start speaking about my experiences publicly, I did ask her if she had any recollection of this experience. And she said, flat out, she said, "Mommy, I don't remember anything. I don't believe in it, and I don't want to talk about it." But she did give me her permission to talk about it and use her name. So at least she was respecting my experience and allowing me to do so.
Do you think that the fact that she says, "I don't even think about it, I don't recall, I don't want to talk about it," I mean, if she doesn't want to talk about it, do you think that deep down she does know it actually happened?
I don't know. I have no idea, and I would never, ever invade her privacy. This is, I know what it's like to be in that position. I mean, I didn't tell my mother, so why would she tell me? And I totally respect her for that. That's her journey. And I did tell her, I said, I completely respect it and I respect your privacy, but I want you to know that if at any point in your life you decide that you remember something or you want to talk about it, I am always here.
Very cool. Very cool, because it is that support. I mean, I think the worst thing of being a parent in this type of situation is the fact that we want to protect our children at all costs. And with this, there is no way to protect the child. And that's what's scary. Whether it's a positive or negative experience, that's not really the matter of it all. It's the scariness that you want to go. Like my little guy has been taken twice, and he got taken with Mrs. SOR, once when he was 6 months old and once again when he was 18 months. And Mrs. SOR recalled asking them, "Why are you taking him? He's just a baby." And all they said to her was, I want to get this right. They said to her that, "Don't worry, we're just doing some measurements on him, and this is the last time he'll be taken."
Oh, wow.
So he was only slated to go twice. And with some people who are more in the know than I am, I've had that, as best confirmed as possible. But he hasn't been taken since, as much as we know. But it is funny to watch him around ghosts and stuff now. That's kind of
Oh,
fun.
Really? Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So what do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Oh, he sees things, and he doesn't know what he's looking at, but he just, my buddy Mike was over, it was probably around Christmas time, and he caught my son staring at the doorway, and he looked at the doorway, and he saw a shadow being walk right past the door down the hallway towards the bedrooms. Little things like that. My wife has caught him staring at that same doorway, and when she looked over there was like a rainbow type aura of blue and purple and green standing in the shape of a being at the doorway. And he sees that. He just doesn't know how to express it yet.
Right. And how old is he?
With that. Just turned 6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, at least you're open about it. And yeah, exactly.
Well, I'll try to be.
Right. As much as you can.
Yeah. I mean,
until it gets personal.
Well, Well, here's the personal one. Was last fall, we were sitting down and I was feeding him a bowl of cereal. It was like a Sunday night because I didn't have the show, and we watched this light come from our dining room right through our kitchen and disappeared over top of our sink. And I'm looking at it and he's looking at it. I said, "Did you just see that?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "What did you see?" He goes, "The light." And I'm like, "You did see that?" He goes, "Yeah." And then he goes back to eating his Frosted Lucky Charms because they're magically delicious. and the next thing you know, he breaks out in an absolute terror tantrum saying, Daddy, I don't want you to die. You're going to die soon.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, and that was so unnerving to me because he was absolutely having a breakdown that I was going to die soon.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, thankfully, I didn't.
Right.
Otherwise, it'd be really.
How do you console a child that gets that kind of information?
Well, you just kind of say, "Oh, Daddy's not going." You play it down, right? That's all you can do. You just play it down. Not much more. So, I don't know. He never really brought it up after that.
Well,
once it calmed him down. So, maybe. Thank goodness he wasn't my angel of death.
Oh, dear.
No kidding.
Yeah, right?
No kidding. Yeah. But, I mean, when it comes to your daughter, though, or even your other daughter, when they come up to you with something weird or strange like that, in their younger years or whatever age they are now, how did you handle that as a parent?
Oh, well, I mean, not so much my older daughter. She has been pretty closed about that type of stuff. She doesn't really talk about anything paranormal or anything. But my younger daughter is the exact opposite. And once she started getting the idea that, I was speaking about this stuff, she was fascinated by it and asked me lots of questions. And I was a hit at parties. Let's just put it that way. Whenever she'd have like a get together with her friends, she would say, "Mommy, my friends all want to hear about your experiences." And it would be like a freaking powwow. We just sit around and, they were just fascinated. And then I became, I don't want to say like a circus freak, but I kind of felt that way. But she started having her own paranormal experiences and she started seeing UFOs. So I think that the more open you are, the more you will have experiences, and she was totally fine with it. And she also was having like precognitive dreams, and my younger daughter. So yeah, I was very happy that she shared these things with me, but obviously she felt that she could. So I was very glad that I could be an open parent in that respect.
What do you think of the whole abduction of children?
Well, I don't really care for it because I don't think that it's fair that a child be taken against their will. I mean, or anybody for that matter. I do understand that there's probably a bigger picture that we're not a party to. So it's really difficult to answer that question correctly. I have a lot of different thoughts on that matter. One of them being there are so many possibilities within the phenomenon, and one of them being that did we choose this before we came here? Did we choose to be part of this experience? And that's one option to peruse. Another one is, this is just the way it's always been. They're here among us. They always have been. So, we don't have any control over it. Just like a lot of things that we don't have control over in the world right now. As far as children being used for experiments, there's the two camps. One of them is that it's a negative thing. The other one is they're trying to help humanity. So, if you know anybody that has the answers to all these things, they're lying because we really don't know. But, I generally don't feel that it's fair as a parent to have your child taken against their will. But that's just the way, human beings are. It's genetic. It's inherent. That's how we are as parents. And I don't want to sound inhumane, but, I don't know if there's like a bigger plan that if these things hadn't been happening all these years, maybe, we would have been dead a long time ago. I don't know.
We got about 90 seconds left before we do this and go to break at the top of the hour and finish up hour one. Wow, this has flown by. But do you feel that this is in some sort of pre-written contract that a lot of people say you sign this contract before you come to Earth? Because I don't buy that story.
Well, who's to say? Obviously it's subjective, and I think people have said that they remember before they were here. And so if that's the case, then who's to say that that's not a possibility? I think it's just basically a matter of opinion. Some people believe they remember, being in a tube before they came to this earth and being part of a program, a genetic program, what have you, that they were seated here. I am in the camp that I do remember making a contract before coming here, not necessarily that it involved, quote unquote, gray aliens, but I think that it's all connected somehow. And maybe it has to be a interdimensional thing. Maybe it was a different reality. But I definitely do believe that for myself that I chose this
I
path.
Get that.
I chose this path that I'm in right now.
Suzanne, I'm going to get you to hold on. We're wrapping up hour one, hour two with Suzanne Chancellor coming on in. I know the aliens aren't picky about looks, because if they were, I sure wouldn't be taken. More Spaced Out Radio coming up after this.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Come hang out with Spaced Out Radio, where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is watching.
Canada's largest UFO conference is ready to roll in Toronto this September 21st and 22nd at the Alien Cosmic Expo. This year is about the experience. Listen to the stories of Dave Scott, Travis Walton, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Ryan Stacey, Richard Dolan, Leslie Mitchell-Clark, and more. Get your tickets now at aliencosmicexpo.com. Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Hey fans, it's Dave Scott. Do I have something for you to check out? A great documentary about legendary Mexican investigative journalist Jaime Maussan and his search for the truth about UFOs. Beyond the Spectrum, Maussan's UFO files can be found on Amazon Prime. It's free to watch if you're a member. You might even hear me in it. So check out Beyond the Spectrum, only on Amazon Prime. The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacey, head of the Research Association, TESA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow night on the show, Lon Strickler joins us to talk Mothman and cryptids. We get going at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates in Dangerfield, Texas, KDNF, AM 1560, KDUN, AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, down in Ridgecrest, California, KZFX 93.7 FM, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, hi to everyone listening in on Revolution Radio. Great to have you with us. Remember, all of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Quadrupedation. Quadrupedation is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where you can read up on the SOR Newswire put together by Captain Shirk. You can also listen to the show live. More features are coming in the next couple of weeks. The Gavinator has let me know that he is on the job. Tonight we are talking ET contact, ET abduction. Lifelong contactee is Suzanne Chancellor. She's out of the East Coast. She is fantastic when it comes to this topic. Her website, abducteeawareness.blogspot.com. You can also check out her podcast. I recommend it, so you know it's got to be good. randomalienbraindroppings.podbean.com if you want to check that out. Welcome back to the show, Suzanne. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been great.
Suzanne, in your experiences, and as you have researched this and talked to a plethora of different experiencers of the good and the bad, what is your make of all of this? Why is this happening, in your opinion?
I don't really know. I mean, like I said before, is it part of the bigger plan? Are they trying to help humanity? I got the feeling that they are trying to help us. I have had a lot of, benevolent experiences and benevolent contact. When I was 9 years old, I remember, and at the time I thought it was a dream until, like I said before, years later, I realized that after doing more research, that this was actually a real experience. I remember just appearing on a craft, and I had no idea how I got there. I was standing in the middle of a room, which at the time I didn't really understand where I was, but when I looked around, I saw a circular room. It had a control panel wrapping the entire room. There were lots of little grays sitting with their backs towards me, all working on this control panel. And it was weird because it was like they were moving their hands around, but there were no buttons or levers or anything. And it was completely backlit. There was no direct lighting. It was all indirect. And when I looked to my left, there were what appeared to be two humans, a boy and a girl. The girl was wearing a red suit, like a jumpsuit, and the boy was wearing a blue jumpsuit. And they were the only ones that actually turned around and looked at me. And when they did, I realized that their eyes were much larger than a human, and I had this thought that they were hybrids at that moment. And at that moment, there was an archway right to the left of them, and in glided, and he didn't walk in, he glided across this large gray being with a long cape on, and he was about 7 feet tall. And he glided right past me, stopped to my right. I turned to face him, and he looked down at me. And when I looked up at him, what I noticed was his eyes were very large. He had a very bulbous forehead, like a lot of ridges. He was wearing this long, like a silvery, shimmery cape. It was almost like it was like liquid mercury, like it was full of stars. I can't really describe it. It's really difficult to compare it to something that I've seen here. And right at his, like where his throat is, I would say that like the throat chakra, which really means a lot to me, was this a silver amulet that had like a green stone that was glowing in the middle of it. And when I looked up at him, I just was like, what am I doing here? What is happening? And the minute that I thought that, right in between us, there was a holographic diagram that just appeared. It was almost like a cube that was kind of floating in between us. And inside that hologram were all these different algebraic equations that they were like 3-dimensional. So instead of like a chalkboard where you see an actual, like a math equation, it was going in all, like if you went to the side of the cube, you could see the numbers went, diagonally and they bisected each other. So I had this feeling that whatever he was showing me was a more complex form of mathematics that was beyond our dimensional capability of understanding. And I said, I don't understand this. I am horrible at math. And he said to me telepathically that I will remember it when it's time. And then he impressed on me, I don't know if it was a download or if it just appeared, but it was a symbol, which I have drawn. I actually have it on my blog. And I'm like, what is this? And he again said that I will remember it. Just don't forget this symbol. It almost looked like a crop circle. So every time there is a crop circle, I always look to see if it resembles it. And there have been a couple that have been very similar, but not exact. And then the third thing he said to me telepathically was that cancer, the cure for cancer, was something we use every day, and that we are trying too hard to find the cure, that it's right in front of our nose. And when he said something that we use every day, I kind of like thought, oh, you mean like toothpaste? Because I was like 9. I mean, I really didn't think about cancer. I mean, I'd heard about it, but, I was a kid. Like we had riding my bike and drawing and stuff. It was like cancer was like that thing that nobody really talks about, And when I said like toothpaste, I heard him chuckle. And he said, yeah, like that. But I thought that was really strange. Why would he give me this information? You know? And so then at that point, I said, I don't get what is happening. And then he said to me telepathically to follow him, and he glided across the room to the edge of the room, and he waved his hand across the side of the craft. And when he did, it was like if you wiped off the condensation from the inside of a window, and all of a sudden I could see through it, and I could see the earth. And I went, oh, I get it now. I realize that I am off Earth. And I was totally fine with it. It was the strangest thing. And another thing was I wasn't afraid of the grays. You know, like all those times before when I had seen them and I was really not sure. At this moment, I felt completely like fine with it. I was calm. He then asked me to follow him, and I did. And he went back through the archway that I came in. And when I followed him, it was like a circular hallway that curved around to the right. And on each side, there were different archways lining up on each side of the hallway. And on the second one to the right, he stopped. And I stopped behind him. When I looked in, there was like a room full of kids around my age. And they were all facing away from me. And they were looking at the wall. And on the wall, it was like a slideshow that was being shown very quickly. Like almost like subliminal messages, like boom, 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 boom. But when I started seeing the repeat, it was like scenes of cataclysm from the earth, like you know, war and like floods and earthquakes and fires and famine and all the things that have happened on this earth. And I really felt that he was trying to impress on these kids that we had the ability to change the future. And so he was giving these kids this information, like our generation, to take this with us, to try and, you know, impress on future generations how to stop this from happening. So that's one of the reasons that I think that they're actually trying to help us. That was my takeaway from that. And at that moment, I don't remember anything else, but I remember being put back on my bed again and the covers being pulled up to my neck.
Did you ever feel pinned down?
No, I never did.
Even with the covers pulled up to your neck?
No, I just felt like my mom was tucking me in bed.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So getting back to the phenomena, have you ever been told why you have been taken?
No. I never have. I don't know that anybody, well, maybe a couple people I've heard interviews and whatnot of them saying that they've gotten the information why they were taken. A lot of people had severe health issues that they, you know, felt like they were cured from. And I did have a situation once when I was younger where I had childhood asthma, and it was pretty difficult. And I ran track, so it was really debilitating. And I remember one night I was laying in bed and I went to sleep, and I woke up in the middle of the night with this extreme, I woke up sleeping on my stomach, which I never did. And I had this extreme pain in my back, like something was being pulled out of me. And it hurt so badly that I screamed and I was crying when I woke up. But I did not have asthma again for almost 20 years after that. So I don't know if something happened.
Question coming from Catherine in the chat room. She is asking, do you get taken physically or mentally off Earth? Do you remember the tangibility of the experience?
Physically, I don't remember actually physically leaving here, like I had said before. I always remember being somewhere else. So it's really difficult for me to like, for example, you know, Fire in the Sky with Travis Walton, and he remembers the actual experience of being taken up this beam. I don't have that experience at all. And the second part was, the question was it a tangible I'm sorry, could you repeat that again?
Do you have any tangible evidence?
Oh, evidence, tangible. Oh, well.
Yeah, to your experience.
I do have something tangible, which it was quite unsettling. I mean, the one tangible evidence that I have was my daughter having the experience, not necessarily that I was taken, but I feel that she was taken by having that. I mean, did we have a shared dream experience? I mean, I don't know how common that is. And if it is possible that it was that elaborate that she would remember those 3 blue beings that I saw, to me, that was my confirmation event that these things were real and they had been happening to me. My second tangible, I would say, proof that I have is an experience that I had in 2013. Okay. I had lived here in Rhode Island for a year. It was the week before Christmas. It was a Saturday before Christmas. And at the time, my boyfriend's 2 daughters were living with us. And one night, my boyfriend worked the night shift, and so he got home quite late, about 4:30 in the morning. And sometimes I would stay up. Our schedules were all screwed up. Like, we were sleeping in the day and we were awake at night. So it was not strange for us to go to bed at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And this one particular morning, we had gone to bed right about 5 o'clock, and I'm laying in bed and I'm looking at my bedroom windows, and I had one window that was facing north and one that was facing west. And I recognized that the north facing window was really bright. And I said, "Oh, wow, do you see that?" And I got up and I opened the curtains and I looked through to the blinds, and I saw a light outside my window that collapsed on itself like a shutter of a camera. And I said to my boyfriend, "Oh my gosh, did you see that? That was so weird." But he was already asleep. So I just got into my bed and fell asleep. And when I woke up, it was 1:15 in the afternoon, and he was awake, which was strange because I usually would wake up before him. So I woke up and I walked down the hallway, and he was in the den drinking coffee. And when I walked into the den, he looked at me and he said, "Oh my God, where were you?" And I said, "What do you mean, where was I?" And he said, "Well, when I woke up, you weren't in bed. Where were you? Didn't you hear me calling your name?" I said, "What are you talking about?" And I was literally freaked out. I thought, okay, what do you mean I was not in bed? I was panicked. I had never had anybody tell me that they had ever seen me missing. Okay. And he says, "I woke up and I figured that you had gone Christmas shopping with the girls because you weren't here. And I walked around the house. You were nowhere." And I said, "I'm wearing my pajamas. You can clearly tell that I just got out of bed." And then I went into like recovery mode, and I realized I was missing and I must have been somewhere. And so I just thought in my head, I'm like, okay, remember. And I started racking my brain. Do I remember being anywhere? Do I remember like leaving the bed? All I could gather was this image. And I said, "Give me a piece of paper and a pencil." And I started drawing this diagram. And what the diagram was, and it's a little bit difficult to explain on air, but imagine if you took like a slinky and you kind of fanned it out a little bit, and then you took another smaller slinky and you bisected it and fanned that out a little bit. And my takeaway from this was that something was being impressed on me, was that all these different little wires in the slinky were all the different dimensions, and then the other ones were other dimensions, and where they bisected was where all these things blip in and out of our reality. It was almost like all the portals, like when we have like the visitations, that's how they come into this reality. When we have ghost images, that's how they come into this dimension, this vibration. Same with like ghost cities and residual energy and all of that. So that is all I remember. But for me, that was another tangible, if that's tangible enough. I don't have like pictures. I don't have, I have what might be an implant in my forehead. But as far as like having, like anything tangible, that would be it. But I thought that was pretty. I could not talk about thought for like over a year because it freaked me out so badly.
Well, I don't blame you. Why wouldn't it?
It just literally, I still have a hard time wrapping my head around it. That I had a witness to my not being here. It makes me shake to think about it, to tell you the truth. After everything else has happened.
And you wouldn't want to regress to find out where you went.
I mean, the thing about regression is, okay, there are certain things, for example, I had Grant Cameron talking to me. Okay, this is another thing I will share with you about that experience on the craft. Brett Oldham, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him at all.
We're good friends with him around here.
Great. So I interviewed Brett on my podcast a few years ago. And I didn't really know Brett very well. But we started talking about one of our experiences. And mine, I shared, was my experience with the craft. He had an almost identical experience on a craft that I did. Right down to the math equation, right down to being shown the same pictures, okay, on the wall. And the being he described almost to a T. In fact, his brother had drawn a drawing. He's an artist, and my drawing and his drawing were almost identical. Of this, who I called the Emperor, right down to the amulet thing that was on his cape. Okay, so that literally blew me away. So Grant Cameron found out that Brett had also been given information about cancer, and Grant said, "You know what? You guys need to have a regression, because can you imagine if you have this information about the cure for cancer?" And I feel horrible because I keep thinking about this. I am so afraid of recovering other things. Like if I could be assured that I could recover just that one experience, then it would be a game changer. But how could they guarantee that I would not remember things that I don't want to remember?
We got about a minute to go before we go to break. Where do you think you went?
I have no idea. I don't know where I went. I just remember getting this information. Was it a download? But where did I go? I don't know. I was physically not in this house. I don't know.
Do the aliens know you leave a key under the floor mat in front of the door, or what?
How did you know that? No, I don't do that, by the way.
Oh, that is weird.
They don't need a key.
Very, very weird. You hold on, Suzanne, because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Interesting stories tonight by Suzanne Chancellor, lifelong ET contactee. How do you feel about being abducted? Not knowing that you were, only to have your partner tell you, "Hey, where did you go?" And you don't know a thing. More Suzanne Chancellor and ET Abduction on Spaced Out Radio as we pass the halfway point. Stay tuned, more to come. Hey, Spaced Out Radio listeners, it's Dave Scott. I want you to check out a great documentary I'm involved in called Beyond the Spectrum, Mosson's UFO Files. Directed by Darcy Weir, the film follows Jaime Mosson's journey for mainstream journalistic truth in ufology in Mexico. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon Prime. If you're a member, watch it free. It's worth the watch.
Coming up this September 21st and 22nd, all UFO eyes will be focused on Toronto for the 4th Annual Alien Cosmic Expo. Come listen to some of the biggest names and experiencers in ufology. Travis Walton, Paul Hellyer, Richard Dolan, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Randy Kramer, and Spaced Out Radio's own Dave Scott. Tickets are on sale now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rockin'. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio. You can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacy, head of the Research Association, TESSA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, hanging out with all of you from SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. Reminder, if you've missed most of this show or others, you can always go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where you right now can read up on the SOR Newswire put together by Captain Shirk, as well as listen to the show live. More features coming from the Gavinator very, very soon. Tonight we are talking with podcaster and lifelong ET experiencer Suzanne Chancellor. Highly suggest you check out her website, abducteeawareness.blogspot.com. It can also take you to her podcast at Random Alien Brain Droppings. Okay, I got to find out, how did you come up with this name for your podcast?
It was just random.
I'm seeing this.
I have no idea. It just, I don't know, popped into my head. Just, it's like all this stuff is so random, like all the random things that had happened to me. And I mean, maybe they're not so random, but at the time that I started my podcast and just like wrapping my head and wrapping my brain around stuff, it just kind of came to be. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Just using your imagination. There we go. There we go. So, in regards to experiencers, you have discussed a lot of these stories with fellow experiencers, both in person and on your podcast. Is there a story that sticks out with you that you're just like, wow, I'm glad I've never gone through that?
Well, I mean, to say that I've never gone through that, let's just say, well, I'm so glad if I did go through that, I don't remember it. Let's put it that way. Well, yeah, I would have to say a lot of the traumatic stuff to me. I mean, one of the things that stands out to me is the experiences of abductees in the breeding program. That, to me, is just absolutely horrifying. I can't even imagine having a situation like that where, you know, one minute you're pregnant and the next minute you're not. And then, you know, during an experience, you're shown your child that you are not allowed to have with you. That is one thing that I would never want to experience. So I would have to say that for sure.
We actually talked about that last night with Geraldine Orozco on this show about the alien breeding and hybridization program that many people are affected by. Have you ever had lengthy discussions with people who have gone through that or been forced to get into any type of intercourse with extraterrestrials?
I personally have not had an actual conversation with anybody that has been through it. I've heard many descriptions and interviews and such, but no, personally I have not spoken with anyone who's been through that experience. I do remember, and you know what, this is just very strange. I remember having a dream once where I woke up I was laying down in a field of tall grass, and I stood up and I saw a woman walking towards me with a small child with blonde curly hair and blue eyes. And she was just beautiful. And I said, "Oh, what a beautiful child." And the woman said to me, "Her name is Grace, and you will see her again someday." And that is all I remember. And like I said, I don't know if it has anything to do with me, if it was just a dream, but I will never forget that. And I will never forget that child's face.
How did it make you feel? What did it look like? Was it just perfect?
She was an angel. She was like an angel. She was emanating light. That's all, the best way I could describe it.
Incredible.
It was just incredible. It was incredible. It really was. Dream or not, it was incredible.
Sounds like we got a 747 flying over.
I live right next to an airport, so there is quite a bit of that.
That's okay. That works for us. That works for us around here. Aliens. Yeah. We have a lot of reports that are coming out, and people are reporting whether they're having good encounters or bad encounters. Out of all the people that you have discussed, because it's so easy to talk about the negative, the people that you surround yourself with, or even yourself, how have the encounters been? Have they been positive? Have they been negative? Because even in our audience and in our chat rooms, there's not a lot of people who actually believe there's positivity when it comes to ET contact or abduction.
Interesting. I found that a lot of my interviews have been more positive, which is interesting. And I know that there are a lot of people. I have seen a lot of shows where people talk about experiences and abductees, and they'll get in the chat room and they'll all talk about all of the negative stuff. And it really is disheartening. I feel really horrible that these people have gone through that. I'm not quite sure. I think it's more of a really great way for people to get this out and have camaraderie and to be able to share their experiences, especially with trauma. It's like, when you have this type of trauma, it's like being a rape victim. And you need to have a sense of community to be able to deal with these experiences, because there's nowhere that you can get, the comfort that you need. I mean, who are you going to talk to than other experiencers? But I do think there are two different camps, and there are good experiences and bad experiences. I think that for myself, I feel that the experience has evolved. And it feels like when I was younger, a lot of the things that I felt like I was being taken a lot against my will. But as I've gotten older, I feel that the experience has changed and has evolved into more of a awakening of the consciousness. And I've started getting a lot more, I've become a lot more psychic. I've had a lot of precognitive dreams, a lot more psychic awareness. I became extremely psychic. So it seemed like all those things were intermixed within my actual visitations, and the abduction experience changed into more of a visitation experience. And when I did have the visitation, and if I was taken, I have no recollection of that experience. For example, I remember waking up in the middle of the night one time around the same time as the experience with my small daughter. I remember waking up in the middle of the night to a light shining into my bedroom window. And I got up out of bed and I looked through the blinds, and in my backyard, I had 2 Alaskan Malamutes, and they were unconscious in the backyard, and there were 3 grays, and they were looking in their ears, and like they were taking samples from them. But one of the grays saw me looking at it, and I knew that I had been seen, and I went, oh, great. And the next thing I remember, I was in my bed again, and the covers were pulled up to my neck, which seemed to be like a recurring theme. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the whole thing, to me, it seems like a lot of people that I've spoken with and a lot of people that I've interviewed seem to have a very similar experience, where a lot of them have, within their experience, and become a lot more consciously aware, and a lot of people have gone into healing and have had a lot of healing capabilities. In fact, my boyfriend, who is also an experiencer, became a Reiki master. And, you know, he had no idea where that came from. I mean, he is a Teamster. He works for a company where that would be like pretty much scoffed at, you know. But so he became a healer, and I think that's a very common theme with a lot of experiencers. So I don't know if a lot of people are just so angry, and you know, I hate to keep harping on the negative and focusing on the negative, and I try and take like the negative experience and make a positive experience out of it. It's like, okay, maybe you had some negative stuff happening, but is there anything out of the experience that was positive that you could take away from it? And if you did, then maybe you should focus on that, is something that I feel would be helpful in maybe the healing process.
Let's get to Tripp's question here. He says, out of everything that you've experienced and now learned, what is the most important thing that you would tell someone that's been abducted, that is looking for help but can't or won't trust people wanting the stories of their experiences?
Yeah, and I think that's a really great question. I think it's really personal. I know that it's really hard to trust people with talking about it, but I know that there's so many avenues out there, and you know, shows like this, and just getting in the chat room, and you know, having communion with other people who are you know, similar in their experiences. There are support groups, and I know we have a support group out here in the East Coast called Starborn Support. We have a Facebook page. If you just click on there, we have private chat, we have group chats. We used to have Experiencers Speak, which is a conference just for experiencers. So, I mean, if you just really look, you will find people out there who can help you. In fact, if anybody out there would like to connect with me, I would love to talk to you. If you need any sort of advice or anything, just write to me. My email address is abducteeawareness@gmail.com. And I would love to hear from you. And, you know, you're not alone. Just know that you're not alone. Don't be afraid. Just try and reach out to anybody. And I know it's hard to live your normal life every day. You know, it's like leading a double life. It really is. It's very difficult, as you all know, being an experiencer yourself. But just reach out. You know, people will be there for you.
A lot of people cannot get their minds around the fact that at some point there have been situations where people are taken right out of their home without due regard for themselves, their bodies, their families, without even getting permission, because we tend to think that we need permission for this. How can you, and the confusion that a lot of people have is the fact that, you know, ET experiencers, I'm one of them, who said they've had good encounters. You say you've had good encounters as well. How do you sit there and say that you're having a good encounter when they're taking you against your will?
Okay, so I've had a really hard time wrestling with this same thought. I realize that it's really difficult for us to comprehend why they're doing this. Okay, they don't understand why we have a problem with it. It's a really twisted way to think about it, but I really believe that they're just doing something they've been told to do. And when I say you're being taken against your will, the grays are usually the ones that are, doing the taking, is the general consensus, I believe. Obviously instructed by some other higher power, whoever this higher power is, or the other people in charge of them, which I feel was the emperor. I really believe that it's really difficult for us to wrap our heads around the bigger plan and the reasoning behind it. We're human beings. We are innate in having this fear of being taken. They don't have that same thought process that we do. So I think it's like we're just two different species trying to, we're trying to wrestle with it, and they're just doing their job, and they can't understand why we're having a problem with it. Pardon the fireworks, by the way.
Yes,
in the background. Not
gunshots,
by the way. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So that's how I feel about that. I mean, as hard as it is to comprehend being taken against your will, I just really keep going back to thinking that there's a reasoning behind it, and we're just, what it's like. It's like capturing a bird in captivity and putting it in a cage. Because you want it to be your pet. Because that's just what we do as humans. Oh, it's so cute and blah, blah, blah. And the bird's like, okay, why are you doing this? I'm supposed to be flying around. But that's just human nature, and this is what we do, and maybe that's what they do. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
It's hard for people to understand if they haven't gone through it. Okay, like I understand that I've never wanted my experiences at all, but they have happened. But looking back on them, I know that I've had good experiences. I know I've had bad experiences. I know that I've had one ugly experience that I don't talk about. And it's something that you have to weigh with life. It's like life. Sometimes life sucks. Sometimes you get the short end of the stick. Other times you have a great time and everything's falling into place. And I think it kind of works that way. I don't know how else to explain it. I'm neither here nor there. I wish it wouldn't happen. Mm-hmm. I wish that there was some sort of set of rules and guidelines where if aliens are coming down taking people, that they got to, knock on the door and ask permission and say, hey, would you like to come with us tonight? Because we're going to be looking into whatever, and we'll trade you this, a little bit of your
if it was blood. Only that easy.
but that's what I'm saying. Hey, I'll make a trade. I'll trade you some of your Rh negative blood for a little tour around the galaxy. What do you say we go around the moon and back? Show you the dark side. That would be cool. I'm okay with that. And I understand where people would be very hesitant or upset. But I do believe that Hollywood, along with books like Communion, have played a very, very important role in shaping people's opinions of ET abduction and or contact.
And we have interpreted those species as such. It's our interpretation of what we think they really are. But that's just our interpretation. So how do we really know what their motive is, what their motivation is? How can we even begin to understand the reasoning behind the entire experience itself? So then how could we even come to a conclusion at that point?
That's getting quite philosophical.
But
quite
I'm saying,
philosophical.
But that's the point.
Like Renee here, who's down in New Zealand, she's probably the only New Zealander who doesn't have an accent.
Oh, my daughter lives in New Zealand, actually. She lives in Parnell.
Oh, I don't know where Renee from New Zealand lives. I don't know.
Renee.
Somewhere in New Zealand. Anyways, she's American too.
Great.
So she says, How can being abducted, losing time, being probed, being microchipped, blah, 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 a good experience unless you're into that sort of thing? That actually does bring up a good point. You know, I mean, are people who've been abducted get a little perverse towards it happening again?
Well, it would take a really special kind of person, I think, to be of that mindset, in my opinion. It's definitely something strange. I've never really heard of anybody. I've never come in contact with anyone who's actually enjoyed a negative experience being, you know, an abductee. Like waiting for, you know, like the next negative experience to happen. That just seems a little strange to me.
No, I'm not saying on simply negative experiences. We got about 90 seconds here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. But the experience in general, because the argument that many have is that how do you know they just didn't put some sort of memory facade on there to make it seem like it was all happy and joyous and pretty and unicorns,
right?
And Justin Trudeau running around, rather than something vile and heinous.
Well, I think that's very common. I mean, you know, I'm a perfect example. I mean, I have not had that negative memory, but who's to say that all of those memories that I have were just planted, that I would not remember the negative stuff. And if that was the case, then so be it. I don't necessarily need to be angry about it. I don't want to be angry about it. I don't want to have that hanging over me for the rest of my life. I'd choose to see the positive in it for myself, you know, and it just makes my life that much easier to accept the fact that if these memories are there for a reason, that I've only had those positive memories, then for that I am actually very grateful. So, and you know, like my daughter, when the little blue beings were telling her that they were loving her, that they loved her, you know, I really feel that something traumatic might well have happened. And I'm grateful that she doesn't have any recollection of that. I would be horrified to think that she would have memories of that.
On that note, I'm going to get you to hold on here because we are going to go to break right now. Suzanne Chancellor is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. She's got a great podcast called Random Alien Brain Droppings, which can be heard on Podbean. Her website, abducteeawareness.blogspot.com. We got her for another 30 minutes. Then we get to the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Dave. Lots more action coming up here on Spaced Out Radio, Hour 3. Coming up next.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Come hang out with Spaced Out Radio, where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Canada's largest UFO conference is ready to roll in Toronto this September 21st and 22nd at the Alien Cosmic Expo. This year is about the experience. Listen to the stories of Dave Scott, Travis Walton, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Ryan Stacey, Richard Dolan, Leslie Mitchell-Clark, and more. Get your tickets now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Hey fans, it's Dave Scott. Do I have something for you to check out? A great documentary about legendary Mexican investigative journalist Jaime Maussan and his search for the truth about UFOs. Beyond the Spectrum, Maussan's UFO files can be found on Amazon Prime. It's free to watch if you're a member. You might even hear me in it. So check out Beyond the Spectrum, only on Amazon Prime.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacey, head of the Research Association, TESA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
From the mile-high mountains of Colorado to all of you around the world, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I invite you to stick around spacedoutradio.com for Saturday and Sunday nights where I host Spaced Out Weekend. Let me take you on a wild ride of weird and strange topics, from ghosts and ETs to remote viewing, psychic phenomena, and so much more. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time on Spaced Out Weekend, where we own the night.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Always a pleasure to broadcast to you live. Tomorrow night on the show, Lon Strickler is here for 4th of July talk about Mothman cryptids. He'll even give us a Butch Witkowski update. 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Hi to everyone listening in on UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Down in Noonan, Georgia, WQEE 99.1 FM. In Ridgecrest, California, we're on KZFX 93.7 FM. In Reedsport, Oregon, KDUN AM 1030 and KDNF AM 1560 in Dangerfield, Texas. Hi to everyone listening in digitally on Revolution Radio. Really appreciate you taking the time. Don't forget, all of our archives are free at youtube.com/spaced out radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Quadrupedation. Quadrupedation is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. You can also listen to the show live. The Gavinator's still working on the site. We're going to have more features coming very, very soon. For the final time tonight, we introduce our guest, Suzanne Chancellor. She's a lifelong ET contactee. She helps people out in those abduction experiences, helps them figure it out. She's also got a great website called abducteeawareness.blogspot.com. You want to check that out as well. Suzanne, thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much, Dave.
You work with one of our former guests, Mike Cleland.
That is correct.
That's got to be interesting when you work with owls. Did you believe in the whole owl significance before you met Mike?
You know, I really hadn't given it a lot of thought. And when he first started talking about it, it just kind of, we were actually friends prior to the whole owl stuff. So we were really talking more about like synchronicities and how different animals play a role in, you know, events in our life, like, you know, totem animals and things like that. And we had one conversation I remember this very clearly. It was in 2012, and I was in San Francisco at the time visiting my daughter. And we were having a very deep conversation about a struggle that he had in his life. And at that one moment, we were having this breakthrough moment in the conversation, a coyote showed up. And he says, "Oh, a coyote showed up. I'd never seen a coyote before." And so he looked up the meaning behind the coyote, and in the totem animal book or what have you. And it had a lot of meaning for what we were talking about and facing fear. And the next time we started talking about animals was when he started doing this owl stuff. And I thought, oh, wow. Well, that's strange because I'd never really thought about it. And Whitley Strieber actually talks about an owl experience in communion. And I thought, well, one of my earliest recollections involved an owl. And I'd never really given it a whole lot of thought until you just mentioned it. And what had happened with me was right around the same time that I had the experience with the belly button thing, I was in preschool. And I remember being in preschool, and it was nap time, and I hated nap time because I was always a very active child. I hated taking a nap. But I knew that right after nap time, it was recess. And at recess, I went out into the yard, and I was always a loner kind of kid. And I remember walking around, and in the back of the little playground, there was a chain link fence. And I noticed there was a hole in the fence. And I went, oh, a hole. You know what? I'm just going to go through it. So I went through the hole in the fence, and it opened up into this big field. And in the field, there was a little shed, like a little abandoned barn. And I remember walking out there going, ooh, what's this? And I walk in the barn, and the interior was all like overgrown with weeds, and kind of some of the slats were like off the sides. And so the sunlight was kind of coming in. And I'm looking around, and I saw a bridle hanging from the wall. And then I saw what I now know was a saddle stand. And I remember looking up, and I saw an owl in the rafters. And I remember thinking to myself, is that an owl? And the owl looked down at me. And at that moment that the owl looked down at me, I started hearing a really high-pitched, like humming, like a humming noise, almost like a, what a cicada is? It's like like during the summer months. Okay. So it was like thousands of those. And it was so loud. And so I plugged my ears. And when I plugged my ears, I realized that the sound was coming from within me. And I couldn't get it to stop. And I remember plugging my ears, crouching down in a ball. And I waited and I waited and I waited until the sound went away. And when it finally went away, I unplugged my ears. And it was dark outside. And I panicked. And I thought, oh my gosh. Did I pass out? Did I fall asleep? What happened? Oh my God. And so I heard a bunch of people calling my name. So I went outside of the barn, and I saw a bunch of people with flashlights, and I heard my mom, and she's yelling at me. She says, oh my gosh, where were you? Where were you? And I said, I don't know what happened. I don't know why, I didn't understand why it was dark. I was so scared. All I knew was she was telling me that I was in trouble and to wait until my father got home. And I was so confused about what had happened that I couldn't really explain to her because I knew she would not believe me. And when I met Mike and we started talking about the owl stuff, I wondered if the owl was actually a screen memory for something else happening. And that has showed up many, many times. And he realized that he was hearing this recurring theme about people seeing an owl during what they thought was just an owl was really an abduction experience. And he put it out there to the masses, and he received I don't know how many hundreds of emails from people saying that they had experienced the same thing, or they had seen a 4-foot owl, which does not exist. And then it was followed by a UFO sighting, synchronicity, and a lot of these people were also experiencers. So definitely very interesting. He has written 2 books, The Messengers and Stories from the Messengers, that deal with both of these. He had so many emails that there was no way he could just write one book. And they're amazing. They are absolutely amazing stories about people who've had these experiences with owls. And I highly, highly recommend them. And a lot of them don't see, which is really interesting, again, with the, the malevolent or the benevolent stuff. A lot of this seems to be very positive, which, again, is contrary to what a lot of people have experienced. So I don't know why that is, but I found it very fascinating.
Do you believe that a lot of people get signs like that?
I do, but I don't think a lot of people pay attention to them. I think that's I think we're so busy in our lives that we don't take the time to stop and pay attention to those signs. Where people have like synchronistic events, or they'll be like, oh, well, that was a coincidence, or something shows up. For example, my boyfriend, he contacted me after hearing me being interviewed by Whitley Strieber on Dreamland in 2012. And when he did so, I didn't know who he was, and I had gotten a lot of friend requests after that interview. But for some reason, his name stood out to me, and his little thumbnail and his little chat box picture looked familiar. And you know how small those are. I mean, there is no way you can see like, okay, I know that guy. And it was a very old photograph. But something about that photo resonated with me. Okay. And I took notice, and I sent him a message back, and we communicated for a little bit, and then we didn't talk for a few months, and that was in April of 2012. And then in July of 2012, I was writing my book. I was on my computer. I was living in California at the time. And as I'm writing, I got a very strong message from I don't know who to shut my computer, go into the bedroom, sit on the floor facing the armoire, and to meditate for 15 minutes. And it was so direct. I thought, oh, okay. And so I just shut my computer, and I did exactly as I was told. And I'm sitting in there, and I'm meditating, thinking that I'm going to get some sort of a message or something. And nothing happened. And I was pissed because I was writing my book, and I was distracted, now I had lost my groove, and I'm like, oh, whatever. So I went back into the living room. I opened up my computer, and I went right on Facebook. And the minute that I did that, he pinged me and said, hey, he in the message bot, he messaged me, right? There was like a ping, and I looked, and it was him. And I thought, oh my gosh, hi, and so we started chatting, and as we're like chatting in the chat box, I'm thinking, okay, this is driving me crazy. Where do I know him from? So as we're talking, I started going through his photographs to think, you know what, maybe I know him from somewhere. Maybe, we have mutual friends. And I asked him if he'd ever been to California. He said no. And only time he had been here is when he had gone to Korea for the army, and he was in the airport, And as I'm scrolling through the photographs, I came across a photograph of this woman holding a child, this beautiful Asian woman holding a child. And I kid you not when I tell you, she was looking right at me. And I was freaking out. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, who is this woman? And she's looking at me, like pleading with me, like she's giving me, like she wants to communicate with him. And I said, who is this picture of this woman in this photograph? And I said, is this your wife? And he said, yes. And I said, she's no longer with us, is she? And he said, no, she died from cancer in 1997. And I said, oh my gosh, I have a message for you. I had never read a photograph before. And I said, she wants you to know, I don't know where this came from. It's like I was channeling this from her, that she misses you, that she's so proud of you, and that she's all around you all the time. Apparently, he had raised the 3 children alone, okay, all those years after she had passed away. And he said, oh my gosh, you have no idea how much that means to me, because today would have been her 50th birthday. And I've been thinking about her all day.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm thinking, what is the synchronicity behind this? And I had to go in, meditate, come back at that very moment for him to ping me on the computer for me to give him this message, okay, on her 50th birthday, which was July 7th. And I'm thinking, well, that's weird because July 7th, that is my best friend's 50th birthday also. Another synchronicity. And I said, wow, that's really weird because it's also my wedding anniversary. So there's all these synchronicities floating around. And he says, oh, wow, I'm 50 also. And I said, oh my gosh, so am I. And I'm thinking, well, there's just too much weird synchronicity going on here. And I said, oh, so really? Well, when's your birthday? And he said March 26, 1962. And I said, you have got to be kidding me. That is my exact birthday. We were born exactly 9 hours apart.
Who's older?
He is. But I think it's really interesting because that is how this all works when you pay attention to signs that he was an experiencer. We started going through our photographs. Like, I felt such a connection with him. Like, I felt like I knew him before. And so he started looking at my photographs, and he came across a photograph of me when I was in junior high, and I was dressed as an alien. I was dressed as the emperor, actually. I wore what he wore in my visitation experience. And he said when he saw that photograph of me, it felt like somebody had punched him in the stomach and knocked the wind out of him. And I said, what do you mean? And he says, I don't know. He said, I felt like I couldn't help you. I wanted to help you, but I couldn't help you. And I freaked out because I felt like that had a much deeper meaning, that we had maybe known each other from another experience from when we were younger. And maybe that's why he was so familiar to me. Which is another story in itself.
We only have about 5.5 minutes left tonight. This has flown on by, but
I know.
when you look at, your current situation where you are now, do you credit your ET abductions or your ET experiences to have paved this path?
Absolutely, 100%. I would not be the person I am today if these things had not happened to me. 100% in every way. And I'm actually grateful for that because I'm more open and I've connected with the most amazing people because of it. I'm very grateful that I know there's something bigger than all of this. I think we're so consumed in everyday life that we think this is it. It's not. I know that, this is not the end, that once we die, we don't die. I know that for a fact. And it's very comforting, and I'm very grateful for that.
You realize what you just said goes all against mainstream science.
I don't even want to tell you what I think about that. I can't on air. How about that? What does everyone know? I mean, there's the scientific mind and, literally. You've got, the two brains there. You've got the conscious awareness and you've got the analytical scientific side, and they don't always agree. They agree to disagree 100%. So,
what do you think?
Science can fly.
I want to get into this because we only got a couple of minutes left, but there's a real political side to ufology right now, which I'm sure you've been paying attention to, as most people have. What do you think as an experiencer when you see groups out there that are segregating UFOs from aliens?
Well, I just think that there's a lot of disinformation out there. I think that this is all a plan. And I know that they know, as you well know, that that is not true, that there's definitely an alien presence here, and there always has been. I think they're trying to warm us up to the fact that this is a reality. I also think that there's a lot of false flag information out there, and this whole, the media, the way that they're having all these, shows on TV, and it's all about, the tic-tac, and, I think, are they warming us up for disclosure? What do you think about that?
Oh, I'm very vocal about that.
Well,
I think for people who are experiencers, such as you, myself, and those who are listening, I believe they're one of the same. I don't think you can have one without the other. And I really believe that one of the reasons why they are segregating the aliens versus UFOs is because the majority of people on this planet are not ready for that type of contact and that type of new reality.
Exactly. No, I agree with you 100%, and that's basically what I was trying to get to. But I think that they're slowly going to be introducing more information about this. And as far as disclosure is concerned, I don't think it's going to be from us. It's going to be from them. They're going to make their presence known before we do, for sure.
Why do you say that?
I just have a feeling. I just think that's how it's going to play out. I really do. Something's going to happen.
A lot of people are saying 2020.
Oh, well, come on. Really? Who can say that, honestly?
'Tis the year the Greada Treaty runs out.
Well, there is that, but...
We shall soon see.
I don't put any credence in any of that.
Could you do me... Hey, that's way too non-woo for us. Way too non-woo. Could you do me a favor, as we got about 1 minute to go here, do me a favor, mention your website, your blog, and everything where people can find you.
Okay, so my blog is abducteeawareness.blogspot.com, and my podcast is randomalienbraindroppings.podbean.com, and my email address is abducteeawareness@gmail.com.
Wonderful. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
I did. Thank you so much, Dave. I had a great time.
No problem. Me too. And we also want to make sure that people are directed to your website. Once again, abducteeawareness.blogspot.com. And, I'd like to do this again. I think
that'd be great.
They're a lot of fun, and we have to. We have to.
Well, there's so much more to talk about. It would take a year.
It totally would, my friend. Suzanne Chancellor, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight.
Thank you, Dave. Have a great night.
You too. Suzanne Chancellor, everybody, don't forget to check out her website, which I highly recommend, abducteeawareness.blogspot.com. And her podcast on Podbean, Random Alien Brain Droppings. Still don't understand the title, but it's fun. Hey, coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire, and the thought of the day. Lots more show coming right at you.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you having encounters with the paranormal, supernatural, or ufological that you cannot explain? Look no further than the SOR Sightlines Report, brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. This is Ryan Stacy, head of the Research Association, TESA. Soon on the Spaced Out Radio website, you'll be able to file your reports and have them researched for you. We are independent and ready to help Spaced Out Radio listeners today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio listeners, it's Dave Scott. I want you to check out a great documentary I'm involved in called Beyond the Spectrum, Mosson's UFO Files. Directed by Darcy Weir, the film follows Jaime Mosson's journey for mainstream journalistic truth in ufology in Mexico. Beyond the Spectrum can be found on Amazon Prime. If you're a member, watch it free. It's worth the watch. Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch. Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today. Coming up this September 21st and 22nd, all UFO eyes will be focused on Toronto for the 4th Annual Alien Cosmic Expo. Come listen to some of the biggest names and experiencers in ufology. Travis Walton, Paul Hellyer, Richard Dolan, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Randy Kramer, and Spaced Out Radio's own Dave Scott. Tickets are on sale now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio. You can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. Glad to be broadcasting to all of you from SOR headquarters in the beautiful mountains of British Columbia. Thank you so much for joining us. Reminder, if you've missed majority of this show or others, you can always check them out for free on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where soon we will have more features for you. The Gavinator is working on that. Currently, you can read up on the SOR Newswire and listen to the show live. Much more coming soon. Let's get to the weird, the wacky, the WTF, the SOR Newswire, put together by our great news director, Captain Shirk. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, and so much more. You know what? I'm mad about this. Part of our childhood could be going away, and it's looking that way. Mad Magazine may be no more. Mad Magazine, along with mascot Alfred E. Newman, could be shutting the doors after almost 70 years. Apparently, some of the writers and editors are confirming this news on social media. I don't know how to feel about this. I mean, yes, it's been years since I bought a Mad Magazine, but you can't go past a book rack or a magazine rack without looking at a Mad Magazine. Mad launched in 1952 at EC Comics. It's best known for its celebrity and political satire, adult humor, and whimsical comics. According to reports yesterday, the popular satirical magazine, now published by DC Comics, may cease to exist in its current format by the end of the year. Mad Magazine contributors David DeGrand and Evan Dorkin took to Twitter today to make comments. They have confirmed it. Evan says, "Today won't end. Goodbye, Mad Magazine. As a youngster, I was a huge fan of the 70s era. As a young adult, I rediscovered the 50s comics. As an old nerd, I somehow became a contributor for the last decade. Getting the email today was crushing." Yeah, this sucks. Mad Magazine gone. Like, that is a staple. Alfred E. Newman is a staple. I even had the Mad Magazine board game back as a kid. Yeah. Apparently DC Comics confirmed this source and this story, that they will stop being available for sale on newsstands after issue number 9 in August. Starting with issue number 10, Mad Magazine will only be available via subscription and direct markets. In addition, after number 10 will only feature reprints of classic Mad articles and comics, but with brand new covers. Mad Magazine will still publish its annual year-end issue, as well as the occasional books and special editions. Fans are already starting to pay tribute on social media. I don't know if I like this. I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I like this. We're losing too much of what was good. Of course it was a horrific comic. That was the best part about it. Best part about it. Oh, I feel for them. Bad move, DC. Bad move. All right. Apparently this part of Canada is not liked in Denver, Colorado. Denver plans on culling Canadian geese, then donating their meat to needy families in an effort to tackle the rising population of birds. Officials say the birds have destroyed vegetation, created sanitation issues. That's true. They poop everywhere. And increased human-wildlife conflicts in the Colorado city. The species is protected under the U.S. Migratory Bird Act, but Denver says the government has permitted the cull. Critics argue that there are more humane ways of reducing population numbers. An estimated 5,000 Canada geese currently live in Denver. Expats, we call them. Where efforts have been underway for more than 15 years to keep the population numbers down. Geese poop in our parks is one of the biggest complaints we have, Scott Gilmore says from Denver Parks and Recreation. It's gotten to the point where the parks were being almost unenjoyable for a lot of people. That's why we moved forward with this plan. Yeah, you never wanted to play football. I always had that buddy who threw the football over my head, and it always went in the middle of the geese doo-doo. Always. Anyways, critics of the initiative argue that there are ways of controlling population's numbers without killing the geese. Geese are a bit of a nuisance, but euthanizing them and feeding them to the homeless seems kind of intense, one local resident says. Other tactics used by the city in recent years to reduce the number of Canada geese include spraying corn oil on eggs to prevent the embryo from developing and using a remote control machine called the Goosinator, no relation to the Gavinator, the Goosinator, to chase away birds. Well, we gave them Joe Sakic, Patrick Waugh, Ray Bork, a Stanley Cup. A couple of them, actually. So I guess we can do that. All right. Kind of a scary incident. The United States Air Force is investigating an incident in which bombs were dropped over Florida on Monday afternoon. But fear not, they were dummy bombs used for training. During a routine mission of training, an A-10 Thunderbolt, otherwise known as a Warthog, which was assigned to the 23rd Fighter Group, took off from Moody Air Force Base, located in Georgia. While in flight, a bird strike caused an inadvertent release of 3 BDU-33s. Now, BDU-33s are non-explosive training munitions, which weigh about 25 pounds and are approximately 22.5 inches in length. Even though the BDU-33s are inert, they do contain small pyrotechnic charges. The bombs still have not been recovered, and the Air Force asked the people refrain from attempting to handle them should they find them. No injuries or damages were reported. The suspected drop site for the bombs is roughly 54 miles south of Moody Air Force Base in northern Florida, just near the border with Georgia. The Air Force estimates that it is 2 kilometers west of Highway 129 near Sewanee Springs or Suwannee Springs. If the training munition is found, do not approach it. It could be armed and dangerous. I threw that last part in. They just want you to call the Air Force. Let them know. They'll come pick it up. Here's a cool story. A young female fox just shy of her first birthday stunned scientists by covering an unbelievable distance during a short 4-month trek. The animal, also known as a coastal or blue fox, traveled more than 2,700 miles from Spitsbergen, the largest island of the Svalbard archipelago of Norway, to Ellesmere Island in Nunavut, Canada. That's a lot of running for a young one. The journey is almost the longest dispersal events ever recorded for the species. Researchers first fitted the fox with a tracking collar in 2017 and released her into nature as part of a larger ongoing study about the spatial ecology of Arctic foxes. For months, the fox stayed along the coastline of western Spitsbergen. Toward the end of March, she took off, changing her course several times when she met open water. After finding ice-covered sea for the first time, the fox left Spitsbergen, having traveled for 21 days and about 939 miles. Boy, she makes some good mileage on those 4 legs. She arrived in Greenland on April 16th, 2018. Similarly, in 2010, an adult female Arctic fox in the Canadian Arctic set off on a journey. She traveled more than 2,800 miles in total, but over a longer period of 5.5 months, or 5.5 months, I should say. She used sea ice to link distant regions, as did Svalbard fox, which eventually arrived on Canada's Ellesmere Island 1 year ago. From July 1st. This is kind of cool. Good fox. Good fox. It's a lot of running. Ooh, here's an eerie story. Bad news for anyone afraid of cockroaches. Apparently, they are getting harder and harder to kill. Researchers found that German cockroaches are becoming more difficult to eliminate because they are developing cross-resistance to insecticides. Yeah, the study was led by Purdue University professor Michael Scharf. He says, this is a previously unrealized challenge in cockroaches. Cockroaches developing resistance to multiple classes of insecticides at once will make controlling these pests almost impossible with chemicals alone. Researchers note that the different classes of insecticide work in different ways, with exterminators using a mixture of classes or changing classes from treatment to treatment. This approach aims to ensure that even if a small percentage of cockroaches are resistant to one class of insecticide, the others should kill them. The report's authors tested this approach at a multi-unit buildings in Indiana and Illinois over a 6-month period. In one treatment, 3 different classes of insecticide were rotated each month for 3 months, then repeated. In the second treatment, researchers used a mixture of 2 insecticides from different classes for 6 months. Yeah, no wonder they're getting used to it. It's like Agent Orange back in World War II. Send in the Canadians. They like that stuff. Yeah. However, here is one thing that is solvable with this. You can still step on them. They will always die if you step on them, unless they're about the size of your shoe. Here's a freaky story. An Indian man who was declared dead woke up just before he was set to be buried during his funeral ceremony. Mourners at Muhammad Furqan's funeral were mourning when the 20-year-old, who was declared dead by Indian medical professionals, decided to awaken at his funeral. He was immediately brought to the hospital, put on a ventilator to support him. Furqan had been unconscious since June 21st when he got into an accident. Doctors declared him dead on Monday, but coincidentally, only after the man's family told the hospital that looked after him they no longer had the funds to pay for his care. The family told reporters that the situation left them traumatized because not only had they come to terms with Furqan's passing, but then to see him move during the funeral, well, This is what his brother Muhammad Irfan said. Devastated, we were preparing for the burial when some of us saw movement of his limbs. We immediately took Furqan to the Ram Manohar Lohia hospital, where the doctor said he was alive and put him on ventilator support. Now, they'd already paid about 10 grand into a private hospital earlier. When they told him that they'd run out of money, they declared Furqan dead. So let me get this straight. Family runs out of money. Yeah, your loved one's dead. Just plan the funeral. It would have buried an alive man. The city's chief medical officer also told the outlet is under investigation into the country's medical practices. Narendra Agarwal says, we have taken cognizance of the incident and the matter will be thoroughly probed. The patient is in critical condition, but definitely not brain dead. He has a pulse, blood pressure, and reflexes are working. He's been put on ventilator support. No money? You dead. Okay. I'm definitely not liking this one. I am a huge fan of the Toy Story series by Disney. But because of the Me Too movement, Walt Disney Company isn't taking any chances. The company's film studio has quietly deleted a scene from its faux blooper reels that are shown together with the closing credits of the 1999 Toy Story 2. So in the latest 4K Blu-ray releases, the scene showing character Stinky Pete flirting with two Barbie dolls has been cut out. In the original reel, Stinky Pete, who is voiced by Kelsey Grammer, formerly of Frasier, offers the Barbie dolls a part in the next Toy Story. He says, and so you two are absolutely identical. You know, I'm sure I can get you a part in Toy Story 3. Stinky Pete then grasps one of the doll's hands. When he realizes, however, that he is being watched, he cuts short the conversation and ushers the dolls out of his toy box. He then stares at the dolls' backsides as they walk past him. The scene was likely deleted because it reminded viewers of the casting couch trope. Yeah, many are also saying that Harvey Weinstein, perhaps the most prominent man to be accused of sexual misconduct, is alleged to have assaulted and harassed dozens of women over a period of decades, promising them roles in films and lengthy careers. So I could see that part. But it's Toy Story. Ironically, the director of Toy Story 2, Pixar co-founder John Lasseter, was himself forced to resign from Disney after complaints of unwanted workplace touching. Listen to that. Listen to that. Well, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe I'll have to change my mind on that. I'm not sure. I just don't like stuff being edited, especially kids' cartoons. Bring back Roadrunner and Coyote. They are looking a lot more innocent these days, aren't they? A mortuary driver who was riding in a Las Vegas carpool lane Monday asked the highway patrol trooper who had pulled him over if the corpse he had been in the back of his van counted as a passenger. The bizarre traffic stop happened after a Nevada highway patrol trooper noticed the driver of a hearse appearing to be riding alone. The driver, whose identity was not released, asked the trooper whether the body he was carrying in the back qualified as a person. He doesn't count, the driver reported. What? Pulling a Captain Shirk. What? Referring to the corpse he was transporting. Yes, it's a person, but they are not in a seat, and they are not living and breathing, the trooper reportedly said. This body was in the rear cargo, and that does not qualify as a seat. The trooper let the driver off with a warning and advised him to move out of the lane. Nevada Highway Patrol later issued a warning that passengers must be living, breathing people in order to be counted as occupants in cars using the high occupancy vehicle lane. Oh, wow. I don't even know where to go with that. I really don't. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages and read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. I want to know about your ET abduction or contact. You know, we didn't get a lot of interest in this one. I'm actually quite surprised. Quite surprised. Well, Craig on Twitter says, the To the Stars Academy is at fault. Well, look at that. All about the To the Stars Academy. Danielle, my parents were put together on purpose, very rare genetics to create me, and oddly, I married a man that happened to have the same as him. Same genetics, that is. We were told we were infertile. My uterus was described as alien after exploratory surgery. Old man had no swimmers. We now have 5 kids. That's kind of cool. Rob, seen multiple daytime craft, several at night. Closest was bright white football on highway. Quarter mile away, went around the bend. Then it was gone. This was in Homestead, Florida. Let's see what else we got here for good ones. Got into a Twitter battle today. That's always fun. Where's Mr. Skeptic when you need him? I need him jostling these people a little bit. All right. Kay Stockton on Twitter. I was just a kid, but sometimes I think I was having the wildest dreams and not really asleep sometimes. I remember other times not so much. I had to tell them to stop and ask God to help me. I'm 64 years old now. In there are still sometimes I still go today. We're going to leave it right there on the Thought of the Day. Thank you for everybody participating tonight in that. Don't forget, you can read up on all the news put together by Captain Shirk on the SOR Newswire, which is on spacedoutradio.com. So we thank her for doing such great work there. What? She says. Captain Shirk's pretty fun to deal with. You just throw her little Rob Zombie music and she gets the job done. She loves her Rob Zombie, especially in a UFO. We also want to say a big thank you to our guest tonight, Suzanne Chancellor, for coming on in, talking about ET abduction, talking about what it's like to be taken, and owls, of course. Look for the signs, people. Look for your signs. Tomorrow night on the show, Lon Strickler brings in the 4th of July with some creepy cryptid talk. Mothman. We're getting an update on Butch Witkowski as well. Starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother Is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, in your cars, at work, on the internets, wherever you may be. Big thank you for helping us out with your ears, listening in. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Hope you had fun tonight. I did. Guess what? We get to do it again all tomorrow because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. I will talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night, everybody. See you tomorrow.